Welcome to Mitchell Maths. In this video we are going to look at how to solve quadratic simultaneous equations. We're going to do a method called the substitution method, which means that we're going to have to make one equation y equals or x equals and then substitute it into the other equation. So the first question we're going to look at is solve the following simultaneous equations. Y equals 4x minus 8 and y equals x squared minus 6x plus 16. In this question it's a bit easier because we've already got y equals. Remember that the y values and x values in each equation we're looking for when they're the same. Therefore what we can do is we know that when these two y values are equivalent, that y equals 4x minus 8 and it also equals x squared minus 6x plus 16. Therefore, we can substitute this first equation into the second equation. So we're going to replace y with 4x minus 8. I'll write that below. We've got 4x minus 8 equals x squared minus 6x plus 16. Now I've only got x values, I can solve it. What I'm going to need to do first is, because it's a quadratic, I'm going to need to get all the x values and everything onto one side and make it equal to 0. To do that, I'll first minus 4x from both sides. That will give me minus 8 equals x squared minus 10x plus 16. I'm going to add the 8. And I'm going to write it all actually on the other side. So I'll have x squared minus 10x. 16 plus 8 is 24. Plus 24 equals 0. And then I'm going to, I can either solve by factorising or quadratic formula. I think in this case it's probably easiest just to factorise. Well, it's going to be 2x. Going to be 2 x's. I need it to multiply to make a positive, add to make a negative, therefore it's going to be 2 minus numbers, and it'll be 6 and 4 because 6 times 4 is 24, minus 6 minus 4 is minus 10. And therefore my x values will be x equals 6, x equals 4. What I need to do now is I need to look at what my corresponding y values are. So I've got y equals 4x minus 8, and when x is 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 take away 8 is 8. Y equals 8. I've also got x equals 6, 6 times 4 is 24, 24 take away 8 is 16, so y equals 16. Therefore, those are my values. Right, the next question, this one's a bit more difficult because we're going to one of the reasons is we're going to have to rearrange at the start. I've got x squared plus 2xy equals 15, and I've got x minus 2y minus 7 equals 0. The easiest one for me to rearrange will be the bottom equation, and I want to rearrange it so I either get y equals or x equals. In this case it'll be a lot easier to get x equals because I've got a single x on its own. So I'll add the 2y and the 7, and that'll give me x equals 2y plus 7. And then I'm going to substitute that x, 2y plus 7, for the x value in the top equation. This will give me 2y plus 7 squared. And I'll write the 2y that's in the front for the next bit. And I'll have 2y plus 7 equals 15. I need to be careful here because when I multiply 2y plus 7 squared, don't just put 4y squared plus 49, you need to multiply it out like it's brackets. 2y plus 7, 2y plus 7 So you're going to multiply, do 2y times 2y, 2y times 7, and 7 times 2y, and 7 times 7, which will give me 4y squared. 2y plus times 7 is plus 14y. Then I do 7 times 2y, which is plus 14y. And then 7 times 7, which is 49. And I'll multiply out these brackets. 2y times 2y again is plus 4y squared. And 2y plus 7 is 14y equals 15. I'll combine the y squareds. I've got two 4y squareds, which will add together to make 8y squared. I have three 14y's, which will add together to give me plus 42y. I'm going to minus the 15 off this side. 49 take away 15 is plus 34. I'm going to, as you can see, all these numbers are even, so I'm going to divide by 2 first of all to just make it a bit more simple so it's easy to work out. Yeah, 42 divided by 2 is 21, 34 divided by 2 is 17. And I'm again in the position where I can either factorise or use quadratic formula. It could be 4y and y in the brackets, or 2y and 2y. In this video, I'm just going through quadratic simultaneous equations. I do have another video on factorising quadratics. If you have trouble doing that, then please check out that video. Right, I know that whatever's going to be here is going to be times by 4. Well, the only things that multiply to make 17 are 17 and 1. Therefore, I'm going to have plus 17 in this bracket and plus 1 in this bracket, because 17 plus, well, that 1 will be times by 4y, so 17 plus 4 gives me 21. So that's going to give me my 2y values. I'll have y equals minus 1. I'll have y equals minus 17 over 4. And now I need to find my corresponding x values, which I'm going to use the equation that I rearranged at the start. X equals 2y plus 7. Well, when y equals minus 1, 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. Minus 2 plus 7 is 5. So I'll get x equals 5. When y equals minus 17 over 4, well, if I do 2 times 17 over 4, that would give me minus 34 over 4. Divide it by 2, it's 17 over 2. And if you do 17 divided by 2, that's minus 8.5. Minus 8.5 plus 7 is minus 1.5. Therefore, our corresponding x value is minus 1.5. And those are my two solutions for that question. Right, so this question is a bit similar to the last question. X squared plus y squared equals 40, and 2y minus 4x equals 4. Again, I'm going to need to rearrange one of the equations in order to get y equals or x equals. In this case, again, it's going to be the bottom one, the one without the squareds in. I'm going to rearrange this to get y equals, because I've got 2y and I've got 4x, so if I want to keep it, I don't really want fractions involved. Therefore, I'm going to plus 4x to both sides, which would give me 2y equals 4x plus 4. I'm then going to divide by 2, which will give me y equals 2x plus 2. And I'm going to substitute that into this equation. I've got x squared plus, well, y squared is 2x plus 2 squared equals 40. If I multiply 2x plus 2, well, again, I'm going to need to multiply it out like it's in brackets. Don't fall into the trap of just doing 2x squared and then 2 squared. quite a common mistake. Right, so I've got x squared plus, well, 2x times 2 is 4x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. 2 times 2x is another 4x. And 2 times 2 is 4. A bit too many 2's there. Equals 40. And now I'm going to combine the equations. 4x, combine the terms. 4x squared plus x squared is 5x squared. 4x plus 4x is 8x. I'm going to take 40 off both sides. 4 take away 40 is minus 36 equals 0. And you can either, you can factorise or use quadratic formula. I'm going to factorise, and as I say, I've got another video which goes through factorisation if you need to have a look at that. And this equation factorises to give, in the brackets. So it's going to be a plus and a minus. I'm going to have minus 2 and plus 18. X equals 2. X equals minus 18 over 5, or 3.6. Right, so now that I've got my x values, I'm going to find my corresponding y values using the equation y equals 2x plus 2. Well, I've got y equals minus 3.6. That's what 18 over 5 gives you. If I times that by 2, that'll be minus 7.2, which will give me, and add 2, that will give me minus 5.2. So x equals minus 5.2. I'm sure it'd be fine as also to give it in fractions if you needed to. X equals 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. Therefore, y equals 6. And there's my two values for those simultaneous equations. And we'll do one last question. And this says, solve the following simultaneous equations. Give your answers to 3 significant figures. Now, what that 3 significant figures, that's very important, because that probably tells you that this isn't going to be a one that you can factorise. It's going to be a quadratic formula one, and it'll be on a calculator paper. So you would be able to use your calculator for questions like this. First of all, I'm going to need to look at my equations, and I'm going to need to decide, am I going to have a y equals or x equals? If I look at my bottom equation, the easiest thing it'll be to do is make it y equals. In order to do that, I'll need to add 4, and I'll need to minus 2x from both sides, which will give me y equals 4 minus 2x. And now I can substitute that into my equation. I've got x, 4 minus 2x, minus 12x equals 2. Just put the bracket in there. So x times 4 is 4x. X times 2x is minus 2x squared. I've got minus 12x equals 2. And I'm going to probably bring everything to the other side. I'll add my 2x squared, which will give me plus 2x squared. I've got 4x minus 12x. Well, 4x minus 12x is minus 8x. So if I add 8x, I'll get plus 8x. And I already have 2 there, so I'll have plus 2. And that will equal to 0. Now, before I want to use quadratic formula, what I can do is it's all divisible by 2. So I can divide it by 2 to make it easier numbers. Therefore, I'll have x squared plus 4x plus 1. And then I need to get my coefficients to get my a, b and c values for when you use quadratic formula. And my quadratic formula, the formula is minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute my numbers in, which will give me, well, I've got minus 4 plus or minus, well, it'll be 4 squared, which is 16, minus, well, it's 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 1. So that'll just be minus 4 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So I'll need to put it in like that into my calculator. I'll need to add 1 time to get one of my x values. I'll need to subtract the other time to get my other x values. So one of my x values is minus 0.268, and I'll get x equals minus 3.73. And that's the 3 significant figures. Remember, when you're trying to find your y values, you'll need to use a more accurate version so that you don't get rounding errors. But what I'd do is I'd use this equation here in order to get my y values. I'd just substitute my x values in, and that will give you y equals 4.54 and y equals 11.5. And that's my solutions. So if the question does say give your answer to do the decimal places or 3 significant figures, then it is going to be a quadratic formula question, in which you're going to have to use your calculator for. Right, thank you for watching. I hope you found that helpful. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. And for questions, please visit my website, www.mitchellmathsandscience.com.